Riding on the massive success of Bloomburrow, Wizards of the Coast is showing us that their occasional competence is merely incidental and not anything we should get used to. We approach the release of Duskmourn, a set that is set in a world that is one giant haunted house, an endless maze of creaky floors and eerily twisting stairs, a nightmare world. This is a very cool concept, but sadly it is being ruined by the blind insertion of 1980s horror movie references. Not just tropes, but direct references to various movies of that time. There is a card called Chainsaw. It is an actual chainsaw. This is the level of pandering and reference humor we have reached in 2024 era Magic: The Gathering. Are we actually supposed to take this seriously? Are we actually expected to eagerly line up to spend money on this? Some of the cards look good. Perhaps it could even be said that this set is less egregiously disappointing than New Capenna, which was a shameless rip-off of 1920s New York without an ounce of aesthetic subtlety. Yet it is so chock full of anachronisms that it is almost garish. If these cards were released 10 or 15 years ago, they would have been thought to be part of an unset, one of the comedy Magic sets they release as a joke from time to time. Of course, most Magic players were not playing the game 10 or 15 years ago. A good number of them joined in 2020 and have no idea what the game used to be like. Back in sets like Lorwyn Shadow Moor, Shards of Alara, even Innistrad, despite being a harbinger of the genre pandering to come, was saturated with flavor and originality. These new players have no concept of this. Half of them play Magic Arena because they are too antisocial to go to an actual event, so local game stores wither, while digital non-existent fake possessions are best sellers. These are the same people who cry about being told that they will own nothing and be happy. So I suppose when you are playing alone in your $1,700 a month, one-bedroom apartment, huddled in the dark, playing with digital Magic cards with a flourishing animation for each move in the game, the soulless stream of pop culture references don't bother you that much. Duskmourn is a tragedy because it could have been a good set. It could have been something memorable, like Innistrad, a plane that evokes gothic horror, or even contemporary horror movies, without being such blatant imitation so as to point and excitedly shout, "Look, look at the thing you know," and then they clap. These mindless wage slaves clap like seals. They clap at the thing they know. It is so infantile as to be insulting. These people spit in your face and then expect you to pay for it, while cramming their homosexual propaganda down your throat. And while there will be some good cards from this set, and while some of the gimmicks, like the doll monster made of spiders, will be droll and sentimentally satisfying, the truth is that the set as a whole will feel empty. It will feel empty and be empty because it is not its own thing. It is formed from an amalgamation of many smaller parts, a stew of half-baked ideas that have not melted into something new. A failed alchemical experiment at too low a temperature due to being baked in minds that lack spark, the minds of those who skated by on their persecution complexes rather than their talent or lack thereof. The Coastal Whiner class has absolutely infested Wizards of the Coast, making every card name a reference or a pun or both. The flavor text used to be humorous, but in a more genuine and clever way than now. Even much of the art seems so rushed, so computerized. The scandal over Wizards of the Coast using AI to assist their artists does not even seem like a shock in the current era. The creative bankruptcy increases with each passing set. The first set to slightly imitate a real-world setting, besides Arabian Nights and Kamigawa, of course, was Theros. Yes, Ravnica had Slavic undertones, but they flew over many fans' heads. From Theros, we had Tarkir, which was Central Asian influenced, but again subtly. Kaladesh was Indian-themed, but that was shrouded behind steampunk. Amonkhet was very explicitly Egyptian, but done well enough that the lack of subtlety did not matter. At least these sets were based on medieval or ancient worlds. After Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the insufferable weeaboo fucks who infest the hobby and so-called geekdom at large loved it so much that Wizards of the Coast took it as a mandate to make more sets with modern technology in them, couched vaguely in a fantasy guise. It has only gotten worse since then. Magic is barely recognizable, and Duskmourn is just another muddy sloshing step in the sad, trudging march. Magic takes from a place of imagination and wonder to a place of cheap recycled cultural tripe and stale reference humor, meant to pander to high fructose corn syrup, infused pudgy, asexual dopamine addicts who grew up watching fast-talking, flashing YouTube cartoons.